This podcast is part of the Pull Up a Chair podcast network. Let's build community through connection, conversation, and collaboration. This podcast is sponsored by Lever Consulting, editing with a purpose. Check them out at leverconsulting.com for a free consultation.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show.
Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm V,
And you're listening to the It's Working podcast.
where we take deep dives into mental health, breaking stigmas, and starting conversations.
Oh, you know, I try to find a purpose in my life to drive me, to guide me. Oh, doctor, I feel dead inside.
We are not healthcare professionals, and our opinions should not be taken as facts or as medical advice. To see any sources, resources, or study we speak about in this podcast, please check out our website, linked in the description of this podcast. If you or a loved one is struggling, there is hope and there is help. Some helpful resources can be found on our website, linked in the description of this podcast. It's Working Podcast is a production from the Pull Up a Chair Foundation. All opinions in this podcast belong to our hosts and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Pull Up a Chair Foundation.
Hey guys, and welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a fun one, especially for the host of a mental health podcast. Today we're talking about taking your own advice.
And how important that is.
And why it's so hard to do.
Yeah. You had mentioned in an episode previously that you struggle with taking your own advice.
I do. I think that was like the mental health day episode.
Mm-hmm.
My memory serves me right. I do. I'm chock full of great advice or great ideas, or I think that they're great advice and great ideas, and I can pass them out like candy, and it's Halloween. You get some advice, and you get some advice, and you get some advice. Everybody gets advice. And then it comes to myself, and I'm like, I can deal.
You just have to suck it up then?
Yeah, I find that because I struggle, I think what it is I don't take my mental health seriously because I struggle so much physically that I know how tough I can be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I deal with chronic pain. And you can usually tell when I'm in pain because I'm a little bit meaner than I normally am. I'd like to say that I'm usually a fairly nice person. Ish.
Yes, you could say that.
I am also occasionally very underhandedly cruel.
And those are on the bad days.
Those are on the bad days.
Yeah.
And it's no excuse, it's just an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to do better every day than I did the day before.
Mm-hmm.
But because I know I can deal with so much physical pain that I'm like, mental pain? Ha! I got this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. Everything is fine. It might be on fire, but I'm okay.
Oh my god, like that meme.
Yeah, okay. That meme is my personal anthem. Like, the old co-host Kat and I used to joke that my husband, Mike, is like the epitome of that because you can never tell what he's thinking because he's so even-keeled. But I live my life by the motto of that meme. In fact, the whole aesthetic of the other podcast, Cringe With Me, is based on that meme.
It's the banner, right?
Yep. Yeah, we did a lot of color sampling and just it's all based on that meme. And so I live by it, and it's not the healthiest, and I would never recommend anybody else do it. It's a bad idea. Do as I say, not as I do. A good example in my personal life is right now, I have set myself a goal to get my house ready for a birthday party for my husband. he doesn't listen to this podcast regularly, so I know he's not going to hear it, so this is not going to spoil the surprise. But if you know him in real life, do not spoil the surprise for him. I want to invite all of his friends over for a big birthday party for him. That's in September. And the house needs a lot of work. And so I set up a schedule to make sure I can do it all in time. I'm in my 2nd month, and I'm already behind.
Oh, boy.
And I'm really stressing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not allowed to take a mental health day until I complete it all.
Well,
That's terrible, right?
Counterintuitive to the episode previously.
I know, because I did the research. I understand. I did the research. I saw it. But my little reptilian brain is all like,
no,
nah.
You can't let that be the carrot that you like try and like lead yourself out with. You can't let that be the bait.
It's so hard for me because I'm like, I also have a really hard time asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, the worst time. And I really should more often because I keep hurting myself trying to do things that I know I'm not physically capable of doing on my own, even if I have the mental know-how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it stop me? No. No, it does not. And it's so dumb. Like, I don't get why I am this way. I really don't understand why I am the way that I am.
Because of, I think, the reasons that you stated previously or earlier in this very episode where, you know, you already have a lot going on. And so, like, you want to tank the other parts. Like, you know, this is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is something. It is, in fact, something, and it should be acknowledged.
It is something that I'm not good at, and I'm failing at, and I don't know what to do to fix it. So I did a little research on this, too, because, oh my god, what am I not researching at what time? And while there has not been a specific study dedicated to it, a couple of different therapists, including Dan Matthews, certified at the American Rehabilitation Practitioners Alliance, and Richie E. Gloomrich, who is like an 80-year-old professor. So I think that they're a little smarter than I am.
Yeah, probably know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So Dan Matthews explains the phenomenon of giving great advice and not taking it as, quote, as you begin to age, you were introduced to an unending list of rules about what you should say, how you should be, and what you should do. These likely resulted in you limiting yourself and maybe not even realizing your full potential. While Richard E. Gloomrich has also said, giving advice is like seeing an elephant in someone else's path and giving a suggestion that they move it. Heeding one's own advice requires forcing that elephant to budge. There's a huge difference. And I think they both like really had a point. Mr. Goodrich or Dr. Goodrich pointed out that it's like a lot harder to do something yourself than just say, hey, you over there, move that elephant. Totally true. And then, you know, everything cycles back to childhood, which is what Dr. Matthews pointed out. Like, you were told to do and behave like this, and so what do you do when you're an adult? You do and behave like this. And I can see why it would be so limiting. Like we talked about in that other episode, when you take the time to care and do stuff for your mental health, you're going to be more productive. It's been shown. It's been proven.
Probably some have even experienced it personally.
I can't. My experiences are not universal, I'm aware, but it's so hard, man.
Yeah. I think also, I know, what is it? There was a meme around this sort of like phenomenon where it's like me giving my friend advice, but then immediately saying, what is it? But it's like you give people advice, but then you're so afraid of like the failure, like setting them up for like failure that you say like, but only if you want to, or like you give some sort of disclaimer, right?
Yeah, disclaimers.
So I think also the reason why it's difficult to take your own advice is because what might sound good to someone else, you know that you are fallible. You know that you are not like all knowing. And so because of that, advice that you give someone else, you struggle to, I mean, I'm saying you, but I think this is like you in general, like the general you. I struggle with this as well. It's hard to take the advice that you give someone else because it's like, well, I've messed up. I've made mistakes. Why would I believe me? Yeah. Whereas coming from someone else, it's like maybe not knowing the extent of their story, like you'd be more inclined to trust. So advice from someone else is easier to receive than it is from yourself. Absolutely.
And then, like, I feel like it also connects to, like, leading by example, which is, again, something I am not always great at. I feel like the only place I excel at that is, like, by eco-consciousness. I don't tell other people to be eco-friendly, yet I do try my best every day to do that, and I don't do it anywhere else in my life. I don't, like, heed my own advice. I don't eat the way I tell other people would be a great idea to eat. I binge. I don't work out the way I should work out. And then I wonder why I'm fat. No, I know why I'm fat. Because I'm living a lifestyle that makes me that way. And then same thing with, like, this whole getting the house put together. I'm like, here's my timeline. And I'm probably underestimating how long it's going to take me to do every task. Because I think, all right, you've heard me talk about trying to dig out my side yard so I can make a patio.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
It has been months.
Why are you going to ask for help?
Who am I going to ask for help?
You could ask me for starters.
You're already so busy.
You have a network of brothers.
I am still new to the club.
No, that doesn't, no, because you're like months in now. And
I
you go
still
to
feel
events
like
and you help.
a noob.
You're going to feel that way for quite some time. I still feel pretty green, and I'm an emissary in a tower.
Yeah, you're a core member.
I am not a core member.
See, I can always find an excuse for why somebody won't help me. Like, I know nobody cares about me and nobody wants to help, and I'm all alone on everything. And that's how I feel so often, which is why I don't go out asking for help. I do research on the internet, and then I put that research into a podcast with a friend, and I share it out with the world, and I freely give advice, and I listen to all the tea that I can, and I do my best to fix every problem I can get my hands on. Like, okay, another great example. I was chatting with a member from Kuraheim. So you don't know who it is, because I'm going to say something semi-personal about this individual. I'm going to call them Potato Chip.
Cool.
So Potato Chip and I were discussing insecurities specifically, which is why I don't want anybody to know their identity. And they told me about a particular feature on their face that they're insecure about. I'm like, but let's say it was their nose. For example, I was like, but your nose is fine. And they're like, well, it's too big. I'm like, okay, we'll put a little contour on it. We'll just make it disappear with makeup. And so I plan to, like, pack some makeup for them so they have a starter makeup kit. And I love it. I love it when they tell me the tea, what's going on, everybody else's problem, so I can go in and I can try to fix everybody's problems. But, like, I'm over here, like, I just want to dig the dirt out of my side yard, and I physically can't go as hard as
so the one
other
that you
people
helped,
can.
You should be able to ask for help from.
I don't know if Potato Chip could necessarily help me with digging out a side yard, but
you'd be surprised.
Their what feature did I say? Their nose. They're gonna learn that their nose is not bad looking, because that's one of the things you learn with makeup, is what you actually do and don't like about your face, because you spend time with your face. Does that make sense?
I suppose.
I know that you spent a little time doing, like, war paint for the foam fighting group on yourself.
Yeah. That kind of backfired. I don't know if I'll be doing that a whole lot anymore, especially if we're doing outdoor venues and junk.
It was beautiful. He got a sunburn, and the war paint covered those parts of his face, so he had it, like, embedded into his skin. Oh, and Potato Chip, if you're listening, your face is perfectly symmetrical, which is the only universal beauty standard that there is. Period. Also,
Okay.
you have porcelain skin and no acne. Be grateful for your beauty. Moving on. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I'm trying so hard not to piece together who this is. Like, I also want to respect.
If they ever tell you, then absolutely go for it.
Uh-huh.
I consume the tea. I don't share it.
No, yeah, but my like Sherlock Holmes like cap is going on. It's like, okay, these are the clues you have to work with. Figure out who it is. No, I don't want to do that. I want to sit here in this chair.
Respect your brother's privacy.
Yes, I want to sit here in this chair. I want to have this mental health podcast talk with you.
Yes,
I want to figure out who the tea belongs to. So yeah, talking about advice though, I think I shared my biggest like revelation already, and that is that like advice is so much easier to give than it is to receive, especially because what also might be the case is maybe you're not so sure about the advice that you're giving, and you sort of give it to someone just to sort of test the waters.
Oh, I don't do that because I know I'm the dumbest person that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. But I'm saying for other people. Maybe maybe it's something that they've thought of before and they approach someone who has, or not approach, they are approached by someone who has a similar problem and they give this piece of advice.
Okay, I hate to say it because you know how I feel about religion and about bringing it up. I love to do it.
Yeah. You do.
But I find that some of the worst advice I've ever been given are by well-meaning Christians specifically who tell you to work through abusive relationships. Because it's mandated, or because you've had premarital sex, you need to forgive blankety blank, or even worse, you get into Christian cults. And they mean it. They mean well in all their heart, and they truly believe that what they're saying is the morally right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you should never be with somebody abusive, regardless of what you have or have not physically or mentally done with the person. Like, there's no excuse for it. But that is advice you see all of the time. It's
fairly often, you're right.
And it's like some of the worst advice out there. You don't hear that from Buddhists. You don't hear that from Hindus. You occasionally hear that from Muslim religions and certain sects of Judaism, but they're all based in the same religion. Like the Judeo-Christian religions, like all of that comes from, not to talk about the history of religion, but it all comes from the base of the Torah, because the biblical Jesus was Jewish, and the Muslim sect came off of a man who was also Jewish.
Yeah.
Just a little history lesson. So, like, they all have that in common.
Yeah. I know what you meant, but I could not. The reason why I'm cracking up right now is I know what you meant, but I could not go past the Judo-Christian.
I probably pronounced it wrong.
Jesus, I think it's Judeo, but I knew I know what you meant, but I could not go past like Jesus doing like, you know, karate in like the front yard or something.
Okay. But are you thinking about the white Jesus we see in paintings, or in the Middle Eastern Jesus, who he actually
the Middle Eastern,
there we go.
You know, because he would have had to like blend in. If Jesus was born white in the Middle East, like no one, like he wouldn't have been able to like get into any like parties and stuff because he would be like an anomaly.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be able to infiltrate like, you know, social circles and like have the conversations he had with people because like it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but that's neither here or there. Us getting on the topic of religion.
Yeah, my point.
Who is surprised?
My point was like Jesus doing like katas and stuff in the front yard, just like Judo-Christian.
Judeo-Christian, thank you for correcting me.
I wasn't trying to.
I appreciate it because you know how I like to learn and I like to pronounce things better, and my English is not so good. It's just not so good. I'm sure listeners are aware that I misspeak or mispronounce and misenunciate all the freaking time.
You're doing great.
All that's to say that some advice comes from the heart. Some of it comes from religion. And either one could be just as right or just as wrong. So when you're taking advice, whether it's from yourself or from somebody else, think about their motives.
That's good.
Yeah. Are they coming to you like, hey, I hear that you're insecure and I want to like give you some tools to fix that. Or are you hearing, hey, I hear that you're struggling, but in order to fit in with our club, you have to do this. So learning to identify that is great, especially if it's advice coming from yourself, because confirmation bias is such a freaking problem with the like echo chambers that we end up in.
Yeah.
That like, I think the best way to see an echo chamber, people, is go onto Twitter, see what your most trending thing is, like the stuff that you see most often in your feed, and then intentionally look for people who feel or think the exact opposite. You're going to have to dig for it a little bit because the algorithm's going to want to hide it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see how many people feel totally different than you and the large social circle that you're in. Because just as many people like blue as people that dislike blue intensely. So you can't assume that your experience is the only experience. So it's good to like take a wide breath when taking advice and thinking about all the alternatives. And just question yourself and question the advice that you're given. Questioning is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, but once you find a good advice, it is so hard still. Like, which doctor was it? I think it was Dr. Let me find it. Dr. Goodrich, who was all like, just like described it as moving an elephant. Taking advice. Because usually, or at least, I shouldn't say usually, from my experience, it's scheduling. That's the biggest thing I struggle with. I schedule really good. I overschedule. So I'm not good at like taking care of my mental health and like setting aside time for that or picking up a new good habit because I just don't know how to schedule it into my life. And forcing myself to do an extra thing or get rid of a thing that's really bad for me that I love to do is so much more difficult than telling somebody else, like, oh yeah, you got 5 minutes in the day that you can do X, Y, Z. You'll be fine. It'll work out for you. 5 minutes is a long time, okay?
It is and also isn't.
It feels like it.
5 minutes when you're first waking up, not wanting to go to work, that's the quickest 5 minutes of your life. Just like, I'm just going to lay here for another 5 minutes. You close your eyes, you wake up again, it's like 10 minutes gone by. No. So it is and it isn't. It depends.
Yeah, because like I have a new workout routine, and one of the stretches that I'm doing is 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I'm like, this has to have been half an hour, right?
Yeah, longest 5 minutes.
It's awful. It's so bad. Have you ever had any advice that you've wanted to give yourself, but you can't quite hold yourself to?
Ooh. I don't know about advice, but certainly like plans. Like I'll use your example of like exercise. Like I wanted to get better at like exercising intentionally. I always say like, oh, well, I do like intense cardio once a week, like, running away from people trying to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's once a week.
That's once a week, right? And it's like, you really should like be more on top of it. And so trying to stick to that program, it's difficult. And I always give myself the advice of like, you're going to be so much better at doing the thing that you do if you do it. Why don't you just do it? You're
hanging a carrot in front of your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try to do that too. Like right now, if I do every single exercise I want in a whole month, at the end of the month, I am allowed to buy myself one new makeup product. And I am not allowed to buy any makeup with the exception of SPF CC cream is the only thing I can buy outside of that, because your girl's going to get burnt if she doesn't do it. So everything else, if I want a new thing, not that I need it, because I have a little bit of a collection going.
Just a little bit.
It's a hobby. I enjoy it. The next thing actually on my list, if I do it, are gardening gloves. If I do a whole month, I'm going to buy myself a new pair of gardening gloves. And I really want a new pair. So hopefully it'll be enough of a carrot to get me through this workout. I don't have any benefits for myself for getting...
I have gloves if you want them.
Maybe.
Okay.
I actually don't have a carrot for myself aside from my husband's birthday for my September goals. And it's a big list. Like, I want to finish the back fence, which I have been stalling on because I really hurt my shoulder trying to get it to the point where it is now.
Mhm.
I want to dig out the side yard so I can have it all level. I want to put in the retaining wall. And I want to set up a small fence in the front yard. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot. And I am technically disabled.
Mm.
Pure technicality. There is only so much physical exertion that I can put out. For most people, like, you could push past it a little bit and that'll get you stronger. For me, that'll just injure me. It's rather frustrating.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, I wanted to get the side yard done months ago. And I hit a brick wall, like, face first.
Mm.
And I am still, like, trying to bounce back. But anyways, if we're still, like, putting out episodes in September, maybe I'll give an update. Again, my advice for the end of this episode is do as I say, not as I do. Lead by example. And if you give yourself good advice, do a better job at it than I do.
Mm.
All right, what about you? What's your advice for today, Jake?
I like that portion that you said earlier about finding a motive. And my advice is figure out if the piece of advice that you're considering is going to fix or help, because there's a difference.
Yes, that is... Maybe we should touch on that a little bit before we exit.
The motive to fix, I think, could be potentially dangerous because that implies, depending on what the advice is being given on, that you're doing something wrong that could lead to hurt feelings. And maybe even, like, this person that's giving you advice might just think that they can do it better than you. So it's not a great place to give advice out of with the intention to fix someone. What could be better is to help.
Yes.
Because with helping, there is the option of taking that advice and then not taking that advice, because they're only offering to help. If you deem it necessary for this piece of advice to apply to you, then you have the right to do that, and you have the ability to do that now. The choice is still there when
like
the advice is
giving
given out.
giving potato chip the contour.
Exactly. You weren't fixing the problem.
No, I'm not a
You were
surgeon.
offering assistance, and that is the difference. So the advice I would give is sense motive. Is it to help or to fix?
Yes. That is honestly as good of advice as my husband gave during the ALS episode. Do you remember that?
That was pretty solid.
Yeah, we still haven't beaten that.
Mm-mm.
But you're getting there. You're getting pretty close to that.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, we have to beat him by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we need to quit.
Yeah.
Which will be sad. So I rather enjoy our talks. I mean, I always enjoy seeing you, but...
Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah, this is fun. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Join the conversation. Find us on social media at It's Working Podcast or link below.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you join us next week.
Be kind to yourself and to others.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Oh, you know, I try to find a purpose in my life to drive me, to guide me. Oh, doctor, I feel dead inside.
Okay, let's talk about Lever Consulting. They help you create so many things. A perfect personal statement, application essays, presentations. They help create writings that truly represent you. They've got writers, editors, and even researchers. Lever Consulting can make all your stuff easy to read, understandable, and enjoyable. They truly take editing to the next level. Not only do they have flexible rates, they also offer assistance with college applications and job seeking. Check them out at eleverconsulting.com and get a free consultation.
Do you shudder internally when you witness a Karen going off on some innocent service industry worker?
Do you consume bad fan fiction and or have tattoos from your favorite TV shows?
Do you strain to listen in on the awkward date stories of strangers?
Is your family the worst and you just don't want to feel alone?
Then we might have the podcast for you. Cringe With Me, the podcast where we dig up the cringiest articles, questions, and tidbits of human culture to review with you, our listeners, so you can cringe with me.
Look up Cringe With Me on your favorite podcast directory.
Tell me what